Welcome back to another video shot on my 11 Pro Max, and the reason I'm doing this today is because this video is like a matter of showing and telling. It just makes it easier for me to sort of bring you through what I got going here, which is this iPad Pro setup, instead of just sitting in front of my camera and trying to picture, what I had set up hours earlier, because I've been shooting B-roll and stuff like that. But anyway, long story short, BenQ was kind enough to send me this gigantic, beautiful 4K HDR monitor, and it's been sitting in my basement, and I was like, what am I gonna do with it? And instead of making some boring Mac setup video, I thought, you know what? I'm going to make some sort of iPad Pro setup video and see, what my experience is like. This isn't necessarily like buy these products and make your own setup. This is more like, should you do it? How is the experience as of 2020? And how does iPad OS translate to a massive display like the one that we have right here? But of course, before we continue here, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, as the YouTube algorithm likes that and will help push my content to more people. And if you are a recurring viewer, go ahead and press the bell icon and click all notifications. That does help the channel out a lot. Anyway, I probably need to clean my mirror better. I tried to do that with Windex, but somehow I got all streaky. Anyway, I got this iPad Pro setup going on here. It's connected via USB Type-C to my 12.9-inch 2020 model, by the way. This would work just the same with the 2018 model and even an earlier model with Lightning. But I'm pretty sure with USB Type-C, you can output a higher resolution. But honestly, I don't think that makes too much of a difference, because if you really go and zoom up here or just get close to the monitor, this is not 4K. Like, I think this is exactly mirroring the resolution of this display. It's just stretched out. So you're not taking advantage of the full resolution like you would be with a Mac. Like, for example, I have a MacBook Air somewhere around here. Oh, it's right here. When I connect that to this monitor, of course, all of the pixels are going to be put to use in some way or another. So yeah, it's mirrored. Things are a little bit bigger than you would normally see them. So if I open up Safari, for example, here, it's going to be a bit blown up. But honestly, if you are used to using this on a small display and you just want to sit down and get some work done, and let's just say this is your only device, this is not a bad experience. You can scroll up and down. And as you can see here, I have a keyboard and a trackpad, because while you can do this, I've found that if you bring your iPad in front of this monitor, at least, if you have your monitor mounted higher, this won't be an issue. But as you can see here, this kind of obstructs the view that I have right here. For example, here, the doc is not totally visible if I go to Google Docs. So I'll open up a document here, and as you can see, I can see most of it. But if I wanted to edit or continue, I have to look down here rather than, behind my iPad to where the bottom of the text is. You see what I'm saying? This is why I'm shooting on my iPhone. It's just easier to show you these things rather than explain them in A-roll. So I can't see that. So if I'm making any sense, you can use the keyboard if you want. Like, say you're just like on the home screen, you want to like search things on Spotlight. Your text little input comes up here, or if you're in Safari, for example, the search bar is at the top as well. So you can get away with things like that. However, in some applications, this, having your iPad sort of obstructing part of the monitor is just not going to fly. But of course, maybe, you just want to use your iPad without a keyboard and, I don't know, reference notes or draw or whatever. And I tried that. And I don't really know like why someone would do that. Maybe they would want to reference notes or something. Like, I got like my college notes right here. Maybe if you are, I don't know, like studying for a test or whatever, and you want to actually see what you wrote, maybe this would work. Or if you're, like looking at artwork, you can zoom in and just find details. The thing is, like, you can't like hover over and have like a little dot show you where it is. So you can't necessarily draw with like a Wacom tablet where you would like not have to look down and see what you're doing. You could just sort of see like where your stylus is, if you know what I mean. Another great thing about having this sort of setup is the ability to game not on your tiny compared to this 40-inch monitor iPad display. For example, you can open up Minecraft, and I have an Xbox controller in front of me here, and I have gone over this, gaming with an iPad Pro is really dope because you can use this just like you would with any other console. I don't know why this isn't loading. So we got Minecraft open up. I can flip through the menu with my controller, and I can't do it with two hands here, but we can click A and then load my world here, and I'll do my best to sort of navigate. Of course, I have B-roll to show you as well. Okay, proceed, press A. There we go. So we'll load it up here. And yeah, I love the fact that I can just sit back in my chair here, of course, as this loads, and I can eventually, game like I would on a console, like an Xbox or whatever, without looking at the smaller display on my iPad. Not that it was horrible to begin with. Of course, like if you have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, that's a pretty decent sized display. But yeah, this is quite nice, especially if you're playing some kind of first person shooter. You can get more immersed into the content, even on YouTube as well. I mean, although the video doesn't scale perfectly, so if I like, I don't know, click some Linus or Tech Quickie video here.
If you subscribe to a cable or satellite TV service, chances are there's a...
So there are some black bars here, but again, this is bigger than what you could view on your iPad. While it's not a perfect setup, it is decent, like I said. And also, speaking of this monitor here, I want to talk about it for a minute. Not only does it have a really amazing 4K HDR resolution and everything and great picture quality, but the speakers in this thing are just phenomenal. I mean, you got this sort of sound bar at the bottom here, and then if you go towards the back, you can see there's another driver over here. So you get really excellent stereo sound without having to buy an external speaker setup. So that's a reason to buy this monitor. Of course, they sent it to me and wanted me to talk about it, but legit, the speakers in this monitor are just excellent. And of course, the image quality is great too, especially with the Mac. Like I said, you know, you get the full 4K resolution with, you know, HDR quality at some points. And this monitor just offers so much screen resolution, especially when it's, you know, outputting a desktop or laptop OS like Mac OS or Windows. And let's talk about creative work for a minute. I have LumaFusion open here, and I gotta say, I mean, of course, this is not like or exactly like using Final Cut Pro on my iMac 5K, but it's closer than you would think. And if you do a lot of video editing with your iPad, let's just say this is your only device, if you happen to have a big monitor, or this monitor in particular, this does enhance the experience. I have to say, it's not perfect. You got black bars happening. It doesn't take up the whole display. Things could be scaled, you know, smaller, and hopefully in the future, Apple will allow secondary displays with the iPad Pro. Maybe that's part of their master plan. But right now, although it's mirrored, I do feel like I'm getting extra utility out of this, especially using like a keyboard and a trackpad. And I do have to say, if you do want to have a setup like this, I do recommend, if you can afford it, to get a new or used Magic trackpad, because while the trackpad on here, like I said in my review, is decent, it is kind of small. And if you're doing hours and hours of work, let's just say video editing in front of a monitor like this, you're definitely going to be happy if you have this so your hand isn't like super cramped or anything like that. And I'll quickly open up Lightroom as well. This is a nice experience too, because as you can imagine, it allows you to sit back and just dial in with the settings and really see your image, you know, zoomed up here or in like a big picture mode. This is like a high resolution picture I took for a photography class that I have in college, or had in college. I finished my semester, but yeah, while it's nice on here, you know, it's big enough, seeing it on this big, beautiful, colorful display really does make a difference. And again, I'll say it, if this is your only device and you only want an iPad Pro, if you do want to experience a desktop-ish workflow, this will definitely give you that. Although it's not exactly the same, it's definitely close. And I will say the gestures on here, like I said in my Magic Keyboard review, are giving me major Mac vibes. While they're not the same, they are very similar. And it really does kind of go to show that Apple may, you know, see this sort of form factor as the future, and they may sort of combine Mac OS and iPad OS sometime, you know, in the next few years. So with everything I just said, having shown you what this setup sort of operates like, should you invest in an iPad Pro or iPad setup yourself? Well, if iPad or iPad Pro is your only device and you are missing somewhat of a desktop experience for creative work, or you want to kind of sit back and play your iPad like you would a console on a bigger display, then absolutely. I recommend you buy a TV. I recommend you buy a monitor, or this monitor in particular. And by the way, it's not just good for this, it's excellent for creative professionals. I would use it if I didn't have an iMac 5K. That's how good it is, especially with its built-in speakers and stuff. But if you are more on the go, you know, if you do use your iPad more like a laptop replacement or alternative, and I mean, like, this may look cool, but if you don't necessarily need it, then honestly, I wouldn't spend the money on it, especially if you have the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which has a really beautiful big display already. And that about wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful. If you've been thinking about doing this, hopefully I've answered some of your questions or demoed things that you may not have been able to imagine yourself. I'd really appreciate it, once again, if you leave a like on this video, comment, if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and of course, subscribe for more content like this. I will leave a link in the video description if you are interested in the BenQ monitor. I am serious when I'm saying it's an excellent piece of hardware, and I'm probably going to utilize it or showcase it in another video down the line. Also, if you are interested in my iPhone SE giveaway, don't worry. I am still determining the winners. It's just kind of a lengthy process, and I will get that information out to you as soon as possible. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.